wow, yo, yippee, yay, guys. Part number 31, and I'm super excited to be with you guys. If you remember well from last week, we said that this week we're going to go to the chapter 2. We talked in Sardinia about how I personally got into wealth management and how I bought to create SwissBorg. Now it's all about the beginning of SwissBorg, talking about all the great things that brought us to create the brand, SwissBorg, the mission. We already talked about that, but then go more really into the ICO era in 2017. And here you're going to find a lot of new tips as well to really create potentially your own ICO or invest smartly into other ICOs like alpha opportunities and other different things. And then get up to the ICO and hopefully show how things were quite hectic in those times. As you guys know, my name is Cyrus Fazel. I'm the proud founder and CEO of SwissBorg, always here to serve you. So first, we talked about last time why SwissBorg and the mission, how it was important to bring financial freedom to a greater amount of people, how to really be able to create an ecosystem that is, democratizing wealth management by making it fun, fair, and community-centric. This was really something that was really profound in the 10 years that I was working, but more importantly, connected to what was my mission, my purpose, which was really to recreate a community and that this community could really prevail and become, a strong organization, a DAO or a nation, but something that we could build and hopefully get power back from what society has built. And the name SwissBorg, where does it come from? A lot of people know Swiss is from Switzerland because I'm originally, Iranian and Swiss, but I'm a Swiss citizen. And since I'm a kid, I always came to Switzerland. I always thought it was a really great place. I always thought it was very different from the States. It was quite different from Europe to some extent, and it was different from other different countries. So I really like that name Swiss. And what I liked about the Swissness as well is not only the chocolates, so obviously chocolates are great. I like the really democratic thing about Switzerland, really a real democracy. The thing about Switzerland, which people don't remind, is that there's so many different languages, so many different religions. It's one of the biggest state that has the biggest amount of immigrants. People don't realize that. People all think that Swiss is like everyone is Swiss born and all that. Actually not. It's over 30% of people that are actually not Swiss living in Switzerland. And of course, the technology, it's always been a great thing about being one of the most innovative places. If you look at the Human Development Index, it's one of the best ones too. So there's a lot of different things that go to it. And the last part, which is really important, is that wealth management, know-how, savoir-faire, which is really something that is precise. So that's why the Swiss, and of course, the trust level for Swiss people, but for other people around the world, usually when you get into Swiss something, it seems like quite strong and will last on the long run. And the Borg, so by the way, this is the SwissBorg, and this is the Borg, okay? This is the old logo, by the way. This is the logo was crafted in 2017. The Borg is all about the cyborg. I always thought about augmented people would be linked to technology, and in a different other way. If it's IoT, if it's just software, if it's AI, it doesn't really matter. But I always thought that the best way to get the best out of the human species is how we plug into technology. So if you think about it, the Swiss is this democratic place, and the Borg is this technology. So how can you create an organization that's democratic thanks to technology? And of course, embracing wealth management and financial freedom. Now, second chapter, let's talk about this beautiful logo. This logo was designed in a competition, and I wanted to create a lot of different things through it. Obviously, this has changed a bit. There's a new version that Jack made in 2019, so it's not that new anymore, but has made it a bit, let's say, it made it a bit more simple, which is probably better. you could see here many different things. This could be a circuit. This could be a brain. And let's maybe focus now on the brain part. So the brain part here, you could see there's probably a B that you could see, and you could actually see a S as well. I can't really do it another way, but you could probably see the S and the B. You could see as well the infinity signs here, there as well. So you get the infinity sign. So I wanted to create like something that was quite unique, where you had a lot of different cryptographic meanings within the logo. I always think the logo is very important. The name is the branding goes very well as well. And I put a lot of thoughts into it. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Obviously now the logo is slightly different, but we get the big sense out of it. It's more difficult to find the S now or the B in the new logo. But you still have the circuit, you still have this brain, you still have this infinity sign, which is really cool. And yeah, so SwissBorg's mission, SwissBorg the name, and now the logo. Chapter 3. Now we're talking about the ICO. So if we rewind from the last episode in Sardinia, I was talking that no one really believes democratizing wealth management, and the infrastructure, the technology was just to be an application on top of a bank. You wouldn't be able to change much. You wouldn't able to actually go and create a community and bring something for the greater good for that community. So when blockchain came, we saw all these ICOs going on, but more importantly, what was Web3 and DeFi going to be with Anthony. So what happened in March, I was in St. Gallen at the startup, the Swiss startup, I should say St. Gallen's fair and presenting SwissBorg and all that. And at a sudden, we were already participating in ICOs, we were investing. And Anthony was at my place at that time. So I called Anthony and I said, I know how SwissBorg is going to prevail. It's going to change the game. We're going to do one of the biggest ICOs of all time. So that same night, I went, way back to Lausanne. And I was like, Anthony, let's commit every second, every energy into understanding these ICOs. So ICOs, for those that don't know, it's a crowdfunding where you create your token and then essentially people invest in that token, hoping that token will obviously be a good investment and will more importantly have utility within the ecosystem that you're building. So we said right away, let's dig in all the ICOs. We went from Ethereum ICO to DAO to all the different ICOs that we were essentially trying to figure out and understanding how do you make sure your ICO, you're investing into the right projects. Because I think so this is the best way then to build your project and be able to sell your project. So we did a lot of different comparable studies. So it's month of March, April, May. Okay, we say ourselves, we have 2 months to invest into all the ICOs that we think, to break down all the different ICOs, one that are successful, not successful, and to figure out which platform will enable us by the end of the May actually to launch our own ICO and create a token and all that. So Anthony, he's very good at micro and macro. I'm very good at macro in general and at connecting people and organizing people. So what we tried to do is essentially get to know all the different teams, all the different ICOs that were happening. We tried to meet them, go physically meet them where they were based, or try at least to talk to the founders, the teams and all that, and try to understand how the communities were working. While doing this, we do a really comparative different table. And what we said, there's the 10 ways of investing into a startup. Cryptos essentially has the same thing for ICOs. We did the 10 commandments of that different way to get into investing successful ICO. And usually what we did is first understanding the mission. Is there a clear B2C approach that essentially Web3 could really take a part into it? So the mission first. Then what is it solving as problem? Is this a big problem that is solved for people that are in Web3 or Web2? And that's something very different. If you're solving a problem to Web2, which is possible, you really have to have a very big community for that. So it's not that easy to be successful if you're solving, for example, a problem for Web 2. Web 3 then is probably easier, especially it's a big problem. You could look at anything that's solving problems in Ethereum. Usually those tokens do extremely well and have a lot of people because they're solving a real problem of someone who's already having Ether and has some problems within Web 3. The third is what is going to be the product, right? And what is the really USP, unique selling proposal that this platform, that this white paper back then really demonstrate? I think this is something that is very, very important. The number 4 for me, it's the team. The team is something that is extremely, extremely important. You have to know how successful the founders were, if they already had past experience into Web 2 or Web 3, did any very successful projects, how did this lead, and really try to track their track record. It's very important. More importantly than that, what is very important in Web 3 is to have an understanding of Web 3 and the community building, all that, but as well have already a tech team that could put in place a lot of different things, because we're still talking about it, especially back then, 2017, about an industry that was not essentially there yet. So you really had to have your engineers and make sure that your hands are a bit dirty. The step 5, what I would look at is how do they do the marketing outreach? Check out, for example, the social media, check out like Twitter, their Telegram back then, how many numbers, real people looking, not on bots, of course. How did they build this community? Are they doing YouTube videos or not? Are they anonymous or not? That as well is something very important that goes to the chapter just before. And trying to really understand how are they going to grow going forward. Are they very specialized in a local market, or are they looking to reach a very big audience, which is worldwide? The step number 7, which we look at, is the team advisors and all the different partners that they have. This is something that is very important to understand. If there's really some rock stars. Back in 2017, there was always the same ICO advisors. Many of them were not that great, to be honest. But it is what it is. Step number 8 is to look at the legal side of it. Of course, is look see if everything is backed and everything is doing the right jurisdiction, how the structuration of the ICO is done, how the token have they been audited and all that. The chapter 9, which is the most important, is the token economy. What is the supply? What is the market cap? How much time have they raised? Is their token being locked of the team? Is the token that have been invested in the ICO? What was the discounts? Is there a cliff where they have to essentially lock their tokens for a certain amount of time? All of these different things are very important. Last but not least, who are the backers? And this is something that's very, very important. It goes with the advisors, but as well, it goes for who are the backers, who are the people already invested? Are the institutional money that came in, like big VCs? There's famous people from Web3 have invested. Who are the people already invested or are going to invest? If you look at those 10 different criterias, then you're pretty sure that you've done a good job. Maybe not good enough, because still there's a chance of things not going very well. But if you have those 10 things that you really look into it, or you at least try to figure this out with a lot of friends and look at some advices there and there, but then you still have to make your own choice, then you'll be probably you give the better odds to invest in great projects. So chapter 3, now that we know that how to build all these good ways of understanding those 10 different commandments of how to successfully invest into ICO, well, we had to reverse engineer that same thing. And we actually had to say, okay, how do we make sure that we build these 10 different steps and we get one by one perfectly done? And I can tell you one thing, it was very difficult. Anthony and myself, we're not like crypto guys since 2010. We were working in private banks and hedge funds and things like that, asset managers. So we had a very good discipline and very good knowledge about finance, probably much better than 90% of people into crypto. but we didn't have that engineering background. I mean, Anthony had it to some extent. We didn't have that community building. I mean, we had previous jobs where, I mean, I was organizing hackathons, startup weekends, but it was very hard for us. So after 2 months, we get to know this really like 60 days, like day and night, and we're living together. So imagine a flat which is covered of all different whiteboards, and we're just scratching day and night. Okay, Anthony waking up all the time, and like in the morning, like, come on, man, it's 7 o'clock in the morning. Let's figure it out. And I'm like, oh, this post-it. We're putting all these post-its and trying to break it down into small different pieces to tackle different problems. We get to the end of the month of May, and we're like, okay, we should probably launch the ICO, but summertime, it's never a good time to get traction. So let's probably do this in September. And that was one great advice, guys. Never push to tomorrow what you do today. Timing, if there's a time, it doesn't matter if it's summer or not. There's very high chance if summer is getting hot, it's getting great, okay? So if you guys remember, all the summer was the biggest ICO craze. People were just raising money in a great way. And we had some FOMO to extent, but we didn't find the right partners yet to launch our ICO. So, of course, we wanted to go with Bitcoin Swiss. It's Swiss. But unfortunately, they did not. Founders, we had talks a few years later. They still regret it. We really regret it because we love Bitcoin Swiss. And we love how these guys were pioneers, but they were doing a lot of ICOs. But unfortunately, the guy who was in charge back then, I don't know, it was hard to connect. He had so much on his shoulders and it didn't happen. So we looked at a lot of different other players. And if you remember about the last powwow, I talked about TAST, token as a service. And we got to talk to these guys and be part of the community and all that because we invested, and they created, decentralized fund, which was really cool. And we said, okay, well, let's look at their platform. And back then they had this wonderful team that was based, a mix between the US and Ukraine, really, really cool people. And they were doing ICOs. So we talked to them, we talked to different other groups. And at the end, we did sign with these guys. And that was a bit of a mistake, to be honest, because they had some issues with their platform. We get to September, okay? And during that summer, I was able to convince Alex to come into the project. I was able to convince Christoph to come into the project. And I was able to convince a few other people to get into the project too. And this is what started to create a lot of new traction. So from month of June, which were only 2 or 3 with the hackathons, with me organizing these different meetups in Lausanne mainly, but then a little bit elsewhere, it started to create a lot of people, and people from hackathons saying like, hey man, actually, I saw what you've done. You've done a great job. You're a great dev, full stack. Do you want to join us? Like, oh, what are you guys doing? Well, SwissBorg and all that. So I started creating more a team and completely bootstrapped with no money. So I'm paying out some money, sending some Ether and this and that, but it's still like a very early stage. And when I'm able to convince my brother Alex says, I don't get it, but I have a good friend of mine, which his name is Ken. Ken is a former, trader, guy who made a very good life, who was close to 50. I pitched him the story of SwissBorg, and he's like, oh my God. Okay, whatever I'm doing, I'm quitting. Sorry, I'm full on. Let's do this. So then I go in Hong Kong, go in Korea, all these different places. I'm starting to tour around and just create more and more communities, get my pitch even better, making sure that everyone is hearing about SwissBorg and all of that. And this is a whole summer. We get to September and we're supposed to do the ICO. And unfortunately, the guys who were building their platform had an issue. So I'm like, okay, we have to do our ICO. Like, yeah, well, early October should be good. I'm like, well, we waited till September, let's do it. While this is happening, you're seeing one of the biggest bull runs of crypto happening, right? So, and you're seeing Bitcoin going from $1,000 to like, $4,000, $5,000, Ether from $20 going to like $300, $400, and so many other tokens pumping, right? So now it's October, and guys, we got to talk to these people again, and unfortunately, they say that this is not going to happen. We have a problem again, and it seems like your token and your ideas is great, but we're not ready yet. So now we're around November. We're still building the community. We're still like chatting the world, creating more and more meetups in Lausanne and Geneva and Zurich and Seoul, in Tokyo, which is a really growing part, in London too. And I'm just touring around the world and still growing the team. And we have more and more money. We have more and more in crypto. Crypto is pumping itself. So we're getting in this very good mood. While doing that, we still did a pre-ICO. So our best friends, they invested a fair amount of money, and at an early stage where there was no token essentially, but we had more and more capital. So things are working, we're going in the right direction, but still no platform. Now we are in November, and the guys are telling us that unfortunately the platform is like that. Everyone has to do KYC right away, right at the bat. And Anthony looks at it, myself, and said, like, I mean, we love the idea of doing KYC, but not for everyone. In Switzerland, we're able to do essentially an ICO, and only people that invest more than 5,000 threshold have to do essentially KYC back then. Now it's fighting, and they're trying to put it at 1,000. But back then it was 5,000, and the user experience would have been horrible to do that. So we're telling to the guys, well, this is not how we want to do things. And we still don't know if this platform is going to be ready or not. So November 10, it's a Friday night, right around those dates. It's a Friday night. And I look at Anthony, I'm like, dude, we're going to be in January, not going to have a platform. What should we do? He's like, I have no clue. And I'm like, let's build it. And we built doing everything from scratch anyways. Why can't we not just build this platform? And he's like, we could, but it's super complicated. And how long will it take? These guys take like 6 months, 9 months. We've been talking to them, and they just have improved, but they already had a platform back then. I'm like, well, you're a smart guy. And I know some Polish friends that are going to help us. I really want to thank Empirica and Piotr and Michal themselves, wonderful Polish people. And as you guys know, I always had strong trust into Polish warriors. Love these people, how smart they are, great engineers. I call them on a Friday night. And we had a past experience. So on SwissBorg first version, we were a bit working together on this B2B robo-advisor. And really lovely people. I call them up and I'm like, guys, I know it's Friday, it's 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock. We have to build an ICO platform. And they're like, do you have money, Cyrus? I'm like, yes, we do have money. And they're like, okay, because this can't be free, because back then we had arrangements. And I say, guys, but the thing is that we need you guys to bring at least 5 full stack guys and people that have this product at least experience, or at least Scrum Master type of experience, and maybe QA to fix the bugs and all that. From my side, we just have Anthony, a full stack developer, someone that will be good for data to some extent, and someone that will be very good at security, which I'll maybe mention right after. And they're like, okay, when is this for? Tomorrow morning, guys. These Empirica guys, this is how cool this story is. They're like, really tomorrow morning, Cyrus? I'm like, well, can we do it tonight? They're like, yeah, let's do it tonight. Let's bring at least your team and the people and I'll try to figure out who we could think about with the partners. That same night, it's around 9 o'clock. This is how it goes. Friday again. And they're not in our startup, okay? They're like, let's do it together. And they said, but when do you guys need it? Is it for March or April? I'm like, no, it's for the 7th of December. It can't be any time after that. And the platform has to be ready, tested before that. They're like, Sarah, that's not even a month. or 5 weeks. I'm like, I know, but we need to make it fly. And this is what happened. So we're continuing month of November. So building a platform, building the community. Now everything is skyrocketing, right? And Anthony is really focusing on the product himself. He's like, Cyrus, don't even talk about the community. Don't talk about anything else. You have to do all of that. Take out the business side. I'll build the product and I'll assemble this team, make the best freaking product ever. Anthony, as a genius as he is, he breaks down all the product, to go with the Scrum guys. Piotr himself gets involved. The developers behind work day and night. Okay, no weekends, full on to create an ICO platform back then that was multi-chain. Okay, that had AML. We were working with Quorum Firm to make sure that all the wallets were tinted. Had KYC back then. No platform already had that. And had a fiat gateway. So, and that had a really cool experience. For those who participated, you probably remember, it was a great experience. It had videos, all of that. I obviously gave some inputs, but it was really Anthony himself. Whereas on the other side, Alex is bringing all this community in Asia, like especially Japan and Korea. I'm going there very often. And I'm building the one in Switzerland, France, UK, and a little bit everywhere in the world. And we're continuing. And we get very excited. We test the product on December 1st. Things seem to be working quite well, but there's a lot of bugs. And December 7th, our ICO happens. With the pre-ICO in the first day, we get, I think so up to 7-8 million in the first few hours. We're like, this is amazing. Big backers, of course. Warwick Private Bank was one of the big ones that have followed us, that still partners with us 6 years later, which is freaking cool. A lot of different cool people, a lot of different, of course, crypto enthusiasts. December 8 happens and, get 3 million in. We're like, oh, this is great. Now we're at 10 million pretty much. The next day, 1 million. And December 10th, a little bit, now we're at 11 million maybe. And our goal was 52. So there's 41 missing. December 11th, nothing. December 12th, nothing. December 13th, nothing. We're talking about a few hundred Ks maximum per day. So things are continuing. I'm in Brazil. I am just flying. I lost 10 kilos, by the way. I'm doing whatever I can. And December 19th, come back to Geneva after a big flight. Anthony's like, well, it looks like we're not going to make it. And I call my brother and other people, like, what's happening, guys? It's like, well, Bitcoin was rallying. Bitcoin was going from 8K to 20K within that span of time. So people were like, why should I be investing in any new thing when Bitcoin just rallying? Just see how it goes, how high it goes, and maybe then I invest my Bitcoins at the top. Second thing, CryptoKitties. The first app that created the biggest congestion of the life of Ethereum in 2017 was CryptoKitties. So meaning that if you would essentially be able to participate, let's say Ether back then was maybe $700. If you would essentially send an Ether, which is 2 Ether is like 1,400, you would still pay like 300 of gas fees. It was like a huge amount of gas fees. It was like one of the highest of all time. So people are not participating. And then we still bring Ripple. We had like Litecoin. We had Dash. I think we had Bitcoin Cash, and we had fiat. So there was other ways, but this was congestion between Bitcoin and Ethereum, which was the biggest one that I'll talk about right after. People are not too ready about it. So on December 25th, I go to the office at Gotham. For those who remember, we had a really cool office. First office was in this church in Lausanne, just next to where we lived. And the second office that we had, which was bigger and nicer, was then in Gotham, was a co-working space. And so I go on December 25th, and I get there and I check out, the screen and get some bad news, personal bad news as well. Things that don't go too well. I'm alone in this massive co-working space. And I'm just refreshing the page and I'm saying no traction at all. So I call Anthony, I'm like, Merry Christmas to you. Look, man, we have to change this thing. He's like, Cyrus, the whole website has been revamped. Our social media is getting better. We're spending more money. We're targeting different people. I'm like, but how can we make this better? So call my brothers, hey, Merry Christmas. What's happening in Japan? It's like, oh, things are good in Japan. It's super cool. We're going to have a lot of meetups actually right after and preparing a lot of cool stuff. Things hopefully will pick up. And here are around like 13, 14 million. So the span of 15 days, like a few hundred thousands. So very far away. And it seemed like we were never going to make it. And I look at myself and I'm like, well, we already did something good. I mean, being able to raise that amount of capital it's already a huge win. And I look at myself and I'm like, but there's no way. Look, this t-shirt is written, we're not here to take part, but to take over, right? We're here to build the best community. We're here to create history. And I was wearing the same t-shirt in the office. And I said to myself, well, I could find a lot of excuses saying this was not the right timing and we did so much work. Or I could just say that frustration is going to create so much that we're just going to throw a lot of ideas. And sooner or later, if you're very good at what you do, right, which is gathering hope, which is gathering your strong message, which is talking to a lot of people, creating meetups, trying to create partnerships. This is when ETH Lend back then, Aave just finished their ICO. They start talking to us, to their community. We had a lot of different people doing the same thing, had a huge community factor. And then on December 31st, for whatever reason, you say, hey guys, whoever participated in ICO, I'll give you a 10% discount, something like that. December, so I have a little party on the 31st to just, forget, just celebrate and put my energy in another state. December 1st, I wake up quite late at 10 o'clock in the morning. And then he looks at me, he's like, dude, 1.5 million came in. I'm like, what do you mean? So in the last 10 days, we barely even got 1.5. And in a few hours, we got 1.5 million. I'm like, where is it coming from? He's like, well, a lot of comes from Japan, but there's some from Korea, but there's some from Switzerland. I mean, let's retarget people, every ad possible. Anyone who came across our website, okay, was going to get ads everywhere in CoinMarketCap, anywhere that you're on social media. Emails, all of that. This automation, the day after. January 3rd, 2nd. I think so we raised 3.5 million coming from a little bit everywhere. Right now we're having another problem. Our servers are blowing up. We never thought that we're going to have 100,000, 200,000 people coming on our service and coming to actually participate potentially in our ICO. So we're getting a lot of tech issues. Our poor team and myself, we're just like making sure to switch on the plugs and switch them off, literally, okay? This is pretty much what's happening with our servers. January 3rd, I'm about to get crazy. It goes from 3 million to 7 million. January 4th, it goes to 8 million. And then the last day we got, I think so, December 7th, we got like 14 million. People were just rushing like ever. The servers were crashing, everything was crashing, but everything was still secure, which was a very good thing. And the day we reached 52 million, Anthony looks at myself, we're both at home at that time, because we're just not sleeping. So he was sleeping, he was like waking me up, and I was sleeping, trying to make sure that things were going as planned. And I just look at him and I'm like, we did it. And Anthony's like, what next? Well, I look at him and say, well, I have to go to the airport. We have a presentation at a huge meetup that our dear, lovely Shane is presenting. And I owe it to him. He's a great guy, Shane. I really would love to work with him. And he's like, well, the thing is finished, but are you going there? I'm like, well, I promise I'll be there. And we were hoping that we'll still have 3 days and maybe close it or at least get more funding. So I'll get in the plane and take off from the plane and just look at essentially the last 6 months. And those 6 months were probably one of the best months I ever had as professional. It was how do you transform an idea, a crazy idea, to a mission to a company to create a community, to create essentially lovely people that you want to hire, that want to give their best, to just have these crazy dreams that could be achievable, to get into this roller coaster of big issues. And then when each time you climb a mountain, you're like, oh, we got there. And then suddenly there's another mountain that you go up and down. Have to build this product, one of the best ICO platforms of all time, to get to have millions and millions of people going to your website, having 25,000 people around the world investing into this ICO, 149 people, 149 countries participating, pretty much every country in the world participating in this beautiful dream, which is financial freedom. And that's why since those days till today, and probably the next years and decades to come, not only this will have transformed my life and hopefully many other people. As I always say, becoming a real millionaire is not having $1 million on your bank account, but actually helping 1 million people to create something better for their lives. It's something that will always resonate and stick to me. And that's why I enjoy it so much. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Obviously, we'll have next episodes of what happened in 2018, what happened in 2019, and more going forward. There's a lot of hiccups. There's a lot of crazy stuff going. But the best thing is that this token is in my brain, it's in my heart, and so you guys are. As always, be wealthy, be healthy, love our CHSB, and our equity. Take care, guys. Bye, brothers.
Through SwissBorg, all assets will have a fiat gateway. And here is the thing.
Premium features gives you 0 fee trading.
It's an amazing fiat gateway.